coughing out of your mouth. I'm way too paranoid for a threat. Hey, let's get it, bro. DOT, the money, power, respect. The last one is better. Say this a lot of goofies with a check. I mean, I hope them sentiments symbolic. My temperament bipolar, too far. Okay, let's get it up. It's time for him to prove that he's a problem. Niggas clicking up, but they not be legit. No 40 water. Tell him, yeah, get up with me. Fuck sneak this. First person shooter. I hope they came with me.
Of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
Hey guys, welcome to my channel and welcome to another video. In today's video, we're going to be covering a story of a woman from the Memphis area who was shot by her husband 20 times and actually survived. We're going to briefly look at the story from the news, and then we're going to look at a story with more detail. So without further ado, we're just going to jump right on over. If you guys are new here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. And everybody, please hit that like button and hype us up. And if you are not a subscriber, please go ahead and subscribe. We bring stories like this every week. We are eventually going to go live once a week as well. Starting in the new year, we will have stories with some guests and a lot of other things, so stay tuned for that. But let's go ahead and pull this up.
Of the 20 bullets that hit her, several of those bullets hit her in the head, leaving her with challenges for the rest of her life.
I can't use my arms like I used to. And it's hard. That's why I cry a lot, because it's like, I can't believe I went through this situation.
Sam,
Wow, you can just see from looking at her where obviously her head was affected by being hit. It doesn't even look as though it's shaped normally. The fact that she's speaking to us and was hit several times in the head is pretty compelling.
mother of 4 daughters, says she decided to leave her husband after years of verbal and physical abuse.
Why couldn't he just leave me alone and let me go by my life? Like,
Sam says her husband, Ahmad Sam, shot her after she decided not to return home. She says the day of the shooting, her brother took her to get some clothes for work. When they stopped at an apartment complex in South Memphis, her husband appeared.
and he looked at my brother and he was started shooting at my brother. My brother ran, and after that, it's like he continued to, like, after shooting at my brother, he's like continued to shoot into the car.
Sam says she's thankful to be alive and that her daughters still have a mother, but this holiday season, her spirit is at its lowest.
Now, it's a blessing that she didn't have her kids with her. But the thing is, did he not think about that? Did he not think that they would find out? Like, did he not care? Was it really that deep that he had to go after her in such a manner? That is really sad.
It's like the holidays don't feel the same to me anymore, because I can't just get up and like go cook like I used to, because I'm so used to cooking everything for my family. And like, I'm left disabled. I appreciate my family so much, because it's like you never.
There's that mama over there, honey. She looking at her like, I don't know. It's just something in her face right there. But I know if that is her mother, she feels so fortunate to still have her daughter sitting by her side.
Never know what situation you may go through, and you don't know who will be there for you.
Ahmad Sam remains in jail and charged with 2 counts of attempted first-degree murder. In Memphis, Jeremy Pierre, Fox 13 News.
Okay, so sorry about that, guys. So we're going to jump over to this other video that goes in more detail. Also, there will be some commentary with this as well. Undiluted True Crimes is the name of the channel. Shout out to them. You will see their logo on there as well. But what she did is, or she or he is basically put more detail of what happened together, and we're just going to watch some of that as well. This almost gives me chills for the simple fact that that apartment complex remind me so very much of somewhere I used to live. And just imagine you can be sitting in your house and a bullet just fly through. I mean, and I know of people who have lived in Memphis and had that experience. So this is just a sad situation. It's a blessing that she's here, but I bet you shortly after this, she probably didn't feel that way, because can you imagine the pain?
To Fox 13, the suspect, her own husband. Carnissa Sam says her life changed forever in April after she says an abusive relationship with her husband took a violent turn. Fox 13's Jeremy Pierre explains the challenges she has faced, as well as her message for the man she married.
Carnissa Sam's story is definitely one that will make you count all of your blessings. Of the 20 bullets that hit her, several of those bullets hit her in the head, leaving her with challenges for the rest of her life.
Now, we saw this portion of the video, so what we're going to try to do is move a little further. Now, like I said, with this, some of the information may be redundant, but there's also more elaboration as well. Oh Lord, what's going on?
My family and I'm left disabled. I appreciate my family so much.
In April, a Memphis woman named Carnissa Sam stepped into a moment that would redefine every detail of her life. Within minutes, she would be struck by approximately 20 bullets, several aimed directly at her head. Yet the story does not begin with the gunfire. It begins long before, in a relationship that moved quietly from ordinary disagreements to controlled patterns, and then into escalating tension that few recognized as an approaching danger. Today, we examine how a sequence of small signs led to a near-fatal outcome. This story follows a timeline that reveals more questions than answers. Why did the escalation occur when it did? What indicators were present months earlier? What conversations took place behind closed doors? And how does a person survive the level of force intended to end a life instantly? In this investigation, we establish Carnissa's background, her relationship history, the early behavioral shifts, and the documented patterns of control. We analyze the hours leading up to the shooting, reconstruct the attack minute by minute, and examine the medical and forensic details that define the case. We follow law enforcement's response, the husband's role as the primary suspect, and the legal proceedings that unfolded afterward. Hello, welcome to Undiluted True Crimes, where real stories meet hard truths. We dive deep into true crime cases solved and unsolved with a focus on facts, timelines, and justice. Each episode is constant explanations for routine actions. Each minor conflict seemed to add another restriction or expectation, reinforcing the husband's control. Over time, the verbal hostility evolved into physical altercations. Reports indicated that certain disputes resulted in injuries that required basic home treatment, though not all incidents were formally documented. In at least a few situations, neighbors reported loud arguments that suggested physical contact. While there is no record of numerous police visits, there were isolated occasions where law enforcement was called to the residence due to disturbances.
To be diligent when it comes to situations like this. I mean, you can't take for granted that aggression to this magnitude will just cease. Usually, crimes, usually life, usually anything in life usually escalates, whether it's good or bad. And when it's bad, you definitely need to pay attention, especially if you're a person like this young lady who has people that depend on her. She has children that depended on her. So it was important that she keep herself safe. Now, a lot of times you don't think of that. I don't know how or why she maybe didn't feel like that it could go this far, especially if he was already being physically ugly, let's just say, to her. But nonetheless, maybe sometimes you just don't think about it. Also, they say the most dangerous time for a woman is after she leaves a relationship like this. So, if you know anybody that may be in a situation like this, or even if you're in the situation, you need to plan. You need to be diligent, and she should have had an immediate no contact order. Now, could that have helped this situation? Who's to say? Because the thing is, some guys, especially if they're really what people call crazy, they don't care about the damn law. Them are the kind that you definitely have to be careful about.
Statements collected later showed that Kernissa sometimes downplayed these events, contributing to a minimized paper trail. Family members noticed the
And that's what I was just referring to, the fact that she took it for granted that things like this couldn't happen. And let's be honest, a lot of us have probably not been in situations or know of situations that were this bad. Being that that's the case, we don't see things from that color lens of it, when it comes to what we're looking at.
these shifts. Several described the relationship as becoming increasingly restrictive. Friends reported that her communications became less frequent and that she appeared more cautious during conversations.
And that's when you know that these situations may be escalating, because that's the first thing that an abuser does, is isolate.
They interpreted her behavior as an attempt to avoid conflict at home. Despite these observations, many incidents occurred privately, making it
I have a friend, he always used to say, although his wife has been physical with him, but he doesn't consider himself a person who was abused. But just what they said a second ago about downplaying things, or the changing the way they talk to prevent issues, he used to always use the statement, I'm trying to keep my drama down. A lot of times it was just arguing and drama, but it doesn't always have to be that way. So you definitely, instead of downplaying a situation, you always have to look at it from the aspect of it could be much worse.
difficult for anyone outside the household to assess the full extent of the situation. There are indications that she considered leaving the relationship before the attack. At certain points, she stayed with relatives temporarily, suggesting attempts to create distance from her husband. However, these separations did not become permanent. He reportedly made repeated promises to change, and she returned under the assumption that stability would follow. The escalation of violence followed recognizable patterns. Jealousy became a recurring theme in arguments. Her husband began questioning interactions with coworkers, male acquaintances, or even family members. These accusations intensified and became a consistent trigger for new disputes.
So, guys, like um, he said, I mean, anything can start to be problematic when you're in a situation that's escalating to a point of no return. And it's unfortunate. We're going to move forward. Like I said, we're just trying to get more about this particular incident and less about this channel's commentary.
For the shooting. Some noted that he seemed more isolated than usual, giving short responses and avoiding conversation. There were also unconfirmed accounts of a verbal altercation shortly before the event, possibly related to jealousy or boundary disputes. Hours before the attack, the couple reportedly engaged in a final disagreement. The specifics of this confrontation remain unclear, but it contributed to the buildup that preceded the shooting. Her husband left the residence at some point, and witnesses later recalled seeing his vehicle circling the neighborhood multiple times. The timeline suggested rapid mental deterioration on his part, culminating in a decision that would change the course of the case. The shooting occurred in April at a Memphis residential location where Kernissa was present at the time. She was standing outside near the home when her husband approached. He arrived on foot after parking nearby, indicating premeditated movement rather than a spontaneous encounter. There is no record of an extended confrontation before the attack. He approached her directly, closed the distance between them, and produced a firearm. The first gunshot was fired at close range. Immediately after the initial shot, he continued firing rapidly in a sequence estimated at approximately 20 rounds. Several bullets struck her head.
Now, it's obvious that his goal was to seek and destroy. He came up, he didn't say much. First, he had basically aggressed against her sibling. He ran off. Now, when I first heard the story and I heard that he ran, I had mixed feelings in my head, but quite frankly, in a situation like this, what could he have done other than that? Because if he had stayed there, quite frankly, the same thing that happened to her could have possibly happened to him. So the only thing that he could do to have any chance at helping his sister, he had to survive. And so that's what he did. Now, obviously, like I said, when I first thought about it, it was like, that's messed up. He just left. But the thing was, heck, again, like I said, what could he have done?
Others entered her torso, arms, legs, and shoulders. The pattern of injuries indicated that the shooter aimed multiple times at vital regions.
I was just about to say, his goal, like I said, was to end things with her permanently. And that's unfortunate. So just because she has decided to stand up for herself, you don't want her to be able to do anything else ever again. You want to take not only from her what she had, which was her life, but you wanted to take from the children. I'm assuming that since this is her husband that she had a long relationship with, that the children, at least some of them, were his. And it's so unfortunate. My daughter's grandmother used to always say, I don't want anybody to love me to death. And I got what she was saying, kinda, but the more often she said it, the more meaning that it had.
Consistent with an intent to cause fatal damage. She fell to the ground early in the sequence, but the firing continued after she was already incapacitated. Bystanders in the area reacted almost immediately. Some sought cover, while others attempted to call emergency services. According to 911 records, the first call came seconds after the shots began. Witnesses described hearing gunfire in rapid succession and seeing her collapse. Law enforcement arrived within minutes of the first call. EMTs followed shortly afterward. Upon reaching the scene, officers located the victim with extensive injuries and immediately requested medical stabilization. Paramedics assessed multiple entry wounds and began emergency treatment on site before transporting her to a hospital. The shooter fled before police arrived. The scene contained numerous shell casings, providing investigators with initial forensic evidence.
As we saw earlier, these are her kids. This is just a sad situation.
Officers secured the area, interviewed witnesses, and began reconstructing the sequence of events that led to the attack. When first responders reached Kernissa after the shooting, the primary objective was rapid stabilization and immediate transport. She was moved onto a stretcher using standard trauma protocols to prevent additional injury to the spine and skull.
That in itself takes time. The fact that she is still here, she was definitely meant to be. Because, them trying to save her and then save her life, the stabilization part of it really kind of slows down the emergent part of it. So she's definitely meant to be here to tell this story.
Documented multiple gunshot wounds across her body, including visible head injuries, and initiated oxygen support to maintain breathing. En route to the hospital, they assessed her responsiveness. Records indicate she was nonverbal and drifting out of consciousness, consistent with severe trauma. Intravenous access was established, and fluids were administered to counter possible shock. Upon arrival at the nearest trauma center, Kernissa was immediately classified as a critical case. Hospital staff transferred her to the emergency operating area without delay. Medical teams began by evaluating airway integrity, breathing patterns, and circulation. A full body scan was performed to identify paths of each bullet. Surgeons noted internal bleeding, fractured bone structures, and entry points that required immediate intervention.
Just the fact that this trauma team was able to get her to a point of stabilization, and bring her to the other side of that in a way that they were, is just remarkable.
Several bullets were embedded in soft tissue, and others were lodged near vital structures. Head imaging revealed fragments and penetration in multiple regions of the skull. The operating team prioritized removal of bullets posing immediate life-threatening risks, such as those near major blood vessels or brain tissue causing pressure. Some were extracted during the initial surgery, but others were intentionally left lodged because removing them would risk further neurological damage. The precise number removed versus retained was determined by the surgical team based on feasibility and survival probability. Following surgery, Kernissa was moved to the intensive care unit. She was intubated, placed on monitoring equipment, and kept under sedation to reduce brain swelling.
So, guys, I mean, it goes without saying here that this situation was definitely one that could have went another way. I mean, it could have. Thank goodness that it did not, but she was shot over 20 times. And the fact that she has the mobility that she does, that she can still speak, comprehend and all the things, even though she has disabilities, but just the capabilities that she has left, it's just an amazing situation. So, it's just remarkable that she's still here. We're going to check out a little bit more of this and then I'll give my final thoughts.
Updates expressed concerns about rising domestic violence incidents and questioned how such an escalation occurred without earlier intervention.
Now, when it comes to Memphis, Memphis is a place that just traditionally has a lot of crime. So, not that this can't happen anywhere, but the fact of it happening there is really no surprise, and that's not something to say and held lightly.
Advocacy organizations use the case as an example in discussions about protective orders, crisis response times, and the patterns common in abusive relationships. The incident prompted broader conversations about systemic failure specifically, whether warning signs were present and whether the system acted quickly enough to prevent escalation. Some organizations called for stronger enforcement of domestic violence protocols, improved access to shelters, and better screening tools to identify high-risk cases. How many similar cases develop unnoticed or unreported until they reach a life-threatening stage like this one? After the shooting, Kernissa Sam entered a long-term recovery phase defined by permanent physical and neurological limitations. Multiple gunshot wounds caused structural injuries affecting mobility, coordination, and strength. Bullet impacts to her head created cognitive challenges that require ongoing monitoring.
Hey, Nikisha. We are just covering a young lady who was shot 20 times. She actually did survive her injuries. Her and her brother went to get clothes at her house. Apparently, her husband, who shot her, he must have been watching and he was prepared, obviously, to cause grave harm. He shot her several times in the head and the body, but he focused on areas that had vital organs, and therefore her injuries were very, very extensive.
Some injuries cannot be surgically reversed, and her range of motion remains restricted. Tasks that once required minimal effort now demand assistance or adaptive tools. Her communication process also underwent significant changes. Depending on her medical status on any given day, she may alternate between verbal communication, assisted speech devices, or simplified communication methods. Neurological specialists monitor her progress and document the pace of improvement. Her ability to articulate longer statements, recall sequences, and maintain extended conversations continues to develop but remains limited compared to her pre-incident condition. Her children and family adjusted their roles to accommodate her new needs. Daily routines were restructured to ensure she has assistance for mobility, transport to medical appointments, and household management. Family members redistributed responsibilities. Caregiving shifts, financial coordination, and supervision of minors all required reorganization.
Now her husband is charged with 2 counts of attempted unaliving. They didn't mention that he had been taken into custody, but being that he is charged with that, I'm assuming at this point that he has been taken into custody. Now, when he first started his attack on her and her brother, they said phone calls to 911 had started coming in almost instantly, and that the 911 and emergency services was on scene within minutes. But even with that, he was able to flee prior to them coming. So maybe if they had that fast of a response time, this in itself was enough to assist in her still being alive. But guys, tell me what you think about this story, about the fact that someone who just tried to stand up for themselves, that's all she tried to do is leave an abusive situation. And because of that, he decided that he wanted to cause her grave harm. What could have been done differently, in your opinion, after she left? Yes, she saw him on scene. He came up to her. He closed the distance between the two of them. I'm assuming because of why she left, she may have had a no contact order. It has not been made clear. They did say that she downplayed a lot of the situations that they had. Because of that, the paper trail was very weak in this story. But in just your opinion and your thoughts about this case, tell me what you think could have been done better. Nikisha, you say, I stay in Memphis and watched it on the news. She talked to our Fox affiliate the other day. I did show a piece of her story. It is at the beginning. Hopefully you'll check that out. Also, please share the story with people in your area. But yeah, man, this is just a bad situation. In my mind, I'm asking myself, okay, she made a decision because of the way that you treated her that she didn't want to be with you anymore. Did that really require you to treat her the way that you did? Like, my goodness. That's really all I can say is my goodness. But nonetheless, it is what it is. And um I'm glad she's still here. I hope her will to be here aligns with that, because it's going to be a long and tumultuous road for her. So, like I said, I hope that she wants to be here, and I hope that she can still have a decent quality of life in spite of her deficiencies. Anyway, guys, let me know what you all think. We will continue this conversation in the comments. I thank you very much for taking the time to check this video out, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.